You know, when you hear the name Bruce Lee, you probably pictured the lightning-fast kicks, the nunchucks, that iconic yellow jumpsuit. But what if I told you the real key to understanding the man wasn't in his films at all, but in his private letters? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into his personal letters to find the philosopher, the dreamer, and, the actual human being behind the global icon.
Okay, so the book that collects his letters, Letters of the Dragon, it opens with this really powerful idea. See, movies and interviews, they show us the public persona, right? But letters are different. They're written in these quiet moments meant for just one person. They are, and I love this quote from the dedication, where history once was real life. This is our chance, really, to meet Bruce Lee when all the cameras were off.
You know, John Little, the editor of this whole collection, he had the perfect way to describe these letters. He called them a private photo album. And that's exactly what they are. Each one is just a snapshot of a moment in time. His hopes, his fears, his huge plans, and yeah, even his daily struggles. It's through these letters that we get to see the man in the making, long before the rest of the world even knew his name.
All right, so with a life this rich and complex, where do we even begin? Well, luckily his wife, Linda Lee Cadwell, she kind of gives us a guide. She suggests we look for the patterns, these core philosophies that were basically the operating system for his entire life. And listen, these weren't just motivational quotes, They were his life's code. For Bruce, Kung Fu wasn't just about fighting. It was a tool for shaping his entire character. He was just driven by this relentless pursuit of quality, of efficiency in his thinking, and this deep belief that true defeat, that only comes from inside yourself. It's a mindset that kind of echoes ancient philosophies like Stoicism, right? That whole idea of focusing only on what you can control. So keep these patterns in your head because we're going to see them pop up everywhere in his story.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Picture this. It's 1959. We're on a boat crossing the Pacific Ocean. And on that boat is an 18-year-old Bruce Lee, sailing from Hong Kong to America. Now, he is not the global superstar we know, not even close. He's a teenager, stepping into a brand new world with pretty much nothing but a whole lot of ambition.
And this next part just perfectly shows how young and, inexperienced he really was. In one of his first letters from that boat, he writes about his hilarious battle with a modern shower. It's this small, super relatable moment that reminds you, before he was a legend who could move with superhuman grace, he was just a teenager who couldn't figure out a faucet. It just totally humanizes him, doesn't it?
So you would think he arrived in America with this single-minded goal of teaching martial arts, right? I mean, that makes sense. Well, his early letters tell a very different story.
Just look at this shift right here. On the left, we've got a letter from 1958, right before he leaves Hong Kong. And he's asking for step-by-step advice on how to become a pharmacist. A totally conventional path. But then, fast forward just 4 years. Look at the right. His vision has completely transformed. Now he has this grand, totally audacious plan to create a nationwide Kung Fu empire. So the big question is, what on earth happened in those 4 years?
Well, a big part of the answer lies in this one remarkable letter he wrote in 1962 to a family friend named Pearl To. And I'm telling you, this isn't just a letter. It's a manifesto. This is the moment he puts his entire life's philosophy, his entire ambition, down on paper, years before any of it actually happened.
Right away, he makes it so clear that Kung Fu is way more than a hobby or a job for him. It's the absolute core of his being. It's the lens he uses to understand himself and the world around him. It's a way of life that is actively shaping his character. And boom, that's that first pattern we talked about, right there in action.
And then the letter builds to this just incredible declaration of self-belief. You have to remember, he's only 21 years old at this point, but he feels this unstoppable power inside him. He calls it a great, creative, and spiritual force. And this isn't arrogance, not at all. It's this deep, almost mystical confidence in his own potential, in his destiny.
And this is where the dream becomes totally concrete. He doesn't just say he wants to teach. Oh no, he visualizes it in incredible detail. A massive 5- or 6-story Kung Fu institute with branches all across the United States. He even gives himself a 10 to 15-year timeline to do it. I mean, this just proves that his success later on, it wasn't an accident. It was the execution of a detailed plan he laid out when he had practically nothing.
But, a philosophy is only as strong as its ability to hold up during a crisis. So now, let's jump forward to 1965. We're going to look at a single month that tested Bruce Lee to his absolute core.
a time of the highest highs and the lowest lows happening almost at the exact same time. I mean, just imagine the emotional whiplash of this. On February 1st, he has his first son, Brandon, the pure joy of becoming a father. Then, just 1 week later, he gets the news that his own father has passed away back in Hong Kong. So he has to leave his wife and his brand new baby to go to the funeral.
So in his letters back home to Linda, his grief is just raw, and you can feel it. He's describing the family's sadness, all the messy funeral arrangements, and his deep anxiety about her and their son Brandon. You see him being vulnerable, worried, and trying to be a supportive husband from thousands of miles away.
But here's what is just absolutely remarkable. At the exact same time he's writing home about his grief, he sends another letter, this one to his top student, Taiki Kimura. And in that letter, his professional focus is razor sharp. In the middle of this immense personal loss, his vision for martial arts becomes clearer than ever. He declares his plan to create his own system, the system that would eventually become Jeet Kune Do. This contrast, it's not about him ignoring his pain, it's about him channeling it. This was the ultimate test of his philosophy, and it proved that his principles weren't just for the calm days, they were for the storm.
So what do we see when we put all these different snapshots together? We see a complete person. You've got the ambitious planner, the vulnerable husband, the deep philosophical thinker, and the incredibly determined artist. These letters, they're truly the closest we will ever get to hearing his authentic voice.
And in the end, I think his wife Linda gives us the best advice on how to approach these letters. She tells us to absorb them, to feel them, not just analyze them with our heads. It's about connecting with the emotion, the passion, and the pure humanity that's just pouring from every single page. It's really an invitation to understand the man on his own terms.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. We celebrate the public legend, right? The movies, the fights, the fame. But what these letters prove is that the legend that was forged in private. It was built with a pen and paper, through quiet moments of introspection and the relentless work of defining a dream long before the world was ever ready to see it.